and events close to your home.
About the spot where Paul Bunyan once towered over the Danbury State Fairgrounds, now rises the spray of a colorful fountain in the center of the brand new Danbury Fair Mall. The mammoth new structure stands on the 142-acre site where once a year the traditional Danbury State Fair used to come alive. The contemporary Danbury Fair Mall is a sign of the times. The changing face of the fairgrounds site reflects Danbury's progression from a farming and industrial community to a suburban corporate center. This mall is the largest in square feet in the New England area, with enough room to eventually house 220 stores. In and around the Big Top, where farmers proudly exhibited their produce and local businessmen sold their wares, now thrives a year-round retail center. The electrifying midway has been replaced by neon signs and 22,000 white lights adorning the tall columns that line the mall's main walkways. The scholastic folklore and fantasy figures that greeted fairgoers are gone, and mannequins garbed in the latest fashions stand in their places. Since the mid-19th century, the grounds have been the scene of pleasure. Prior to the establishment of an agricultural fair, part of the grounds were aptly named Pleasure Park, where spectators enjoyed the sport of horse racing. The dirt track later became a race arena for midget autos, boats, and eventually stock cars. The original agricultural fair, full of grange exhibits and livestock competitions, took on more of a honky-tonk atmosphere with sideshows and hoochie-coochie girls as farms disappeared. One of the mall highlights you see behind me is a two-tiered carousel that revolves back in time, reminding us of the fun days we had at the Danbury State Fair. Come join me for a ride on the carousel. The carousel, handcrafted in Italy, depicts events and sights of the Danbury Fair. 24 plumed horses and swings support grandparents and grandchildren alike. The spinning carousel with its 1,500 lights creates the impression of a movable fairyland of fun. The cost of building this main attraction, $150,000. When John Leahy took over the fair in 1945, he began to transform the fair into a fantasy land of fairy tale figures and historical scenes. Fairgoers may recall steamboat rides, oxen pulls, and the thrills and chills of the Midway. Finally, in 1981, the 112-year-old tradition gave way to progress, and the fairgrounds was sold to Wilmerite developers for $24 million. After a 6-day auction of the fair's colorful artifacts, the grounds were leveled, and all that remained standing were the solitary forms of the Canadian woodsman and the 40-foot giant Buffalo Bill. Though many fairgoers were sad and bitter to see the fair vanish, Wilmerite developers promised to incorporate the nostalgic qualities of the fair into the mall's design, as John Krause, a member of the Wilmerite family, explained to us on the mall's opening day.
Well, number one, of course, they had the architects come in and study this at great length and try to determine what could be done to turn steel and mortar and sheetrock into something quite dramatic. I think if you stand here and look at the ceiling and see the skylight system and the other accoutrements, when you get up higher, you'll find out that there's an open, spacious feeling, certainly some feeling of the big top and some of the glamour as you come in the front and back entrances of what might be considered not only a fun place but a very glamorous place. Certainly the carousel itself is remarkable in terms of both its detail and in the effort to make it part of the old Danbury Fair theme. And of course we have our posters and some of the things from the fair days gone by throughout the mall just to give people a friendly, warm feeling and certainly a fun time coming to the fair.
You know, this fountain is very tempting because the steps lead right to the water. Was it designed that way for a reason?
Well, one of the main reasons would be, of course, that fountains of this nature become promotional courts. If we look over here, you'll see there's an area where we'll put on children's shows. The fountain will be emptied, scrubbed, and seating arrangements be used down there. So it is meant to be more than just a fountain. It has kind of a dual purpose in that it can be created a very wonderful and beautiful amphitheater.
Where community and church lunch counters offered hungry fairgoers an endless choice of foods, including Belgian waffles, sausages, cotton candy, and fudge. Now shoppers visit the food court, where franchise and local operations offer popular refreshments. Though the Danbury State Fair is gone, memories are rekindled by the architecture and attractions of the Danbury Fair Mall. Instead of the annual 10-day fair event, the mall offers a year-round gathering place for family and friends, and plenty of part and full-time jobs. The management promises the mall will not only be a shopper's paradise, but also an active community entertainment center for all. I'm Judy Cutright, reeling round the Danbury Fair Mall.
Cablevision 27's Reelin' Round Your Town continues after this.